Van Gogh was a very prolific painter, right? He painted a painting a day, whether it was a sunflower or any of it. Now it's in the museum in Amsterdam. How much they must have spent to preserve it. In India, we didn't recognize films as an art form. We always thought of them as entertainment. It was 2014 when we set up the Film Heritage Foundation. And one of the first people to donate material to us was Shyam Benegal. So he donated all his archival material, photographs, lobby cards of all his films. And with that, there was a print of Manthan, 35mm print of Manthan. While handing it over, he said, "This was one of my favorite films. If you can do something about it, the color has faded." He was speaking with such nostalgia and feeling. Just imagine 500,000 farmers giving rupees 2 to produce a film, the first crowd-funded film. What a story by itself. And it still holds. It talks about caste, it talks about women empowerment, it talks about so many complexities of what we have in India. And still, it's so modern in many ways. And it would be a shame if the negative had gone or we would not be able to see it the way we should have seen.
Could you explain to our viewers why archiving and restoration is important and how do you pick the subject?
There's a saying which I say to everyone, that unless you know where you came from, you will not know where to go. That's a sense of human civilization. The reason why we archive is that we've got to keep looking back and seeing what has been created, what has been part of history, who we are and where we came from. Van Gogh was a very prolific painter, right? He painted a painting a day, whether it was a sunflower or any of it. Now it's in the museum in Amsterdam. How much they must have spent to preserve it. So any piece of art, unless you recognize it as an art form. In India, we didn't recognize films as an art form. We always thought of them as entertainment. But when you really look deep and you see that in the 70s and the 80s, look at the great filmmakers like Bimal Roy and Guru Dutt and Raj Kapoor. They almost combined the commercial with the art, and they were able to bring in such beautiful films which reflected its people. And unless we recognize them as an art form, we'll never be able to think of it, to restore them. We'll always say, can we do it cheaply? Can we do it in 1 lakh or 2 lakhs and things? But when you look at it from an art perspective, then the cost doesn't matter. Restoration is an ongoing process. And there have been so many people who are from the contemporary world who've lost their films. Nasir sir was talking about Mirch Masala, which is not that far back. I can give you many, many references of many big films where the negatives are almost gone. And many people don't even realize the difference what is on YouTube and what the resolution of a celluloid film is. The resolution of a celluloid film is almost 24K. If you look at this, there's no modern building. It's all classical. To restore these buildings and to bring it back, there is a cost to it. So restoration is costly. And I really sometimes fail to understand that in India we have so many restoration companies which are giving very cheap restorations. How can you restore a film? Because it's almost, you're doing 24 frames per second. You're almost looking at each frames. You're almost digitizing them, bringing it back. There is a lot of work on it, and it is costly. Every day we get films from everywhere. And whenever I want to restore a film, I always see that what materials are there, but we've always had terrible material. The reason is that's why it's so exciting, because you're bringing back that film back onto the screen, which was almost going. And I think the best compliment came from Shyam Benegal. When I showed it to him, he said it looks better than what it was when he had released it.